You know what? I really miss Flash. I mean, I still use Flash to animate from time to time, including myself. Hey Mum, look at me, I'm in Flash! I've never upgraded to Adobe Animate and have yet to be motivated to try an alternative animation software. Though I really should, because you know what rhymes with Flash? Crash! But what I do miss is when Flash was a major part of the internet, when it was the plugin for checking out some of the coolest stuff on the World Wide Web. I know HTML5 has long since replaced it for a good reason, but it's just not the same, man. Not to me. Without Flash, the internet really wouldn't be the same, and in some ways, it isn't the same. Take me back! I'll happily take Say Something! What? Over what we have now? Created by Macromedia in 1996 and later gobbled up by Adobe, the Flash plugin was officially taken out back to see its final sunset by the end of 2020, after years of companies like Apple campaigning for its retirement and dropping support for it. Mainly because it didn't run great on mobile devices, but also because it was easily exploitable by hackers. Yikes. Flash simply couldn't survive the ever-changing world of the interwebs, but at the height of its popularity, it gave the rise to so many wonderful things. You could create animation, games, and most importantly for what we're talking about today, fully interactive websites. I really miss surfing these Flash websites, and I especially miss the process of creating my own. For me, it perfectly merged the fun of animating with the functionality of web design, requiring far less coding skills than typing out everything in HTML. I mean, ActionScript wasn't exactly a doddle either, but still, it was snappy, scalable, versatile, and very easy to learn, I found. Trying to create a web page that's even remotely as animated with HTML5 code is much more difficult, in my opinion. For the final project of my BTech Multimedia College course, I created a portfolio website entirely built in Flash called Tea N Crumpets. Its web address was maketeanotwar.co.uk and it launched online on August 8th, 2005. Just over 20 years ago! Should you the pattern with these videos? This website had dedicated pages to my animations, illustrations, and about me bio and more, all inhabited by a boatload of strange creatures, with interactive Easter eggs scattered throughout. Here is some of the concept art for the various characters, including a few unused ones. Some of these characters would find themselves starring in my own short films over the forthcoming years. Flip, the orange robot here, almost starred in his own short, which I was working on in 2004. This film never got very far and was left unfinished, but Flip did get a role as a surfer in Cheese Must Go Down a month after the website's launch, telling you not to tell dirty jokes to your mum or something. Don't ask me, I don't speak Space Invader-ish. In 2007, Rab Rab would get a slight redesign and star alongside Tingle, not that Tingle, in a short called, well, Rab Rab. My first and only short film to integrate 3D computer graphics. I'll probably never do it again. This massive pair of lips here is called Reet, named after the Jackie Wilson song Reet Petite, and inspired by the stop-motion music video for it that came out in the 80s. This might have been one of my earliest exposures to animation as a baby. Reet would later be redesigned, starring in an animated ident for the Southend Film Festival. I did start sketching up ideas for both an interactive storybook and a game starring this character called Mouth, spelt with 3 M's, but these ideas never went anywhere. The illustration page is the home of the graphs. That's 2 U's and 3 A's. A quintuple of little yellow creatures that all had slightly different looks and voices. These little freaks were actually sketched up for a previous project on the college course earlier in the year. Oh, and before you make the obvious comparisons, take note I created these guys a year before the Raven Rabbids appeared on the scene, and 5 years before the Minions in Despicable Me. There was even one I doodled that was named Rabbit. Bit of a weird coinky dinky. Dinky? I just want to give a massive shout out to Ashmi for becoming the very first AAFicionado. If you really enjoy my videos and want to support me directly here on YouTube, it's only £1 a month and you could get a shout out in a future video. There's also other perks like early access to videos, emotes and more. If you're interested, just click on the join button next to my username to find out more. Don't forget you can dip in and out whenever you please, so there's no pressure like. Anywho, back to the video. The project took roughly 4 months to complete, with a chunk of that time spent preparing for a public showing that took place between the 23rd and 28th of June, alongside all the other final projects by my classmates on the course. So what would you need to publicly show off a website in the year of 2005? Well, a computer, monitor and a mouse, of course. You couldn't exactly browse it on your phone then, could you? Adorning this simple setup, I planned a rather elaborate display, featuring 3 large boards of heavy wood in which I painted the character's logo and Make Tea Not War slogan. The middle piece had a hole cut out for the monitor to sit behind. I kept hold of these boards for years, up until the time I moved out of my parents' house anyway. They had to be scrapped. I had a job lot of stickers printed that I plastered all over the college and around town. I didn't have the domain name or even the website online yet, so these were a tad cryptic. The rest of them were given out as freebies at the show. They're good for your bones, apparently. The display also featured these little clay figures of some of the characters I made. One part of the display, for some reason, was this massive space hopper that I smothered in doodles of my characters and hung above the monitor display with a basketball hoop. Unlike the artboards, I still have this knocking about. It's currently sitting deflated in my garage. Oi, look, it's me! The website is no longer online, of course, but I do have an offline backup. Thankfully, there's a web-based Flash emulator called Ruffle that, with a bit of tinkering, has made this fully navigatable again. So let's have a butcher's at it, shall we? So to enter the website, we need to click on what? And here is the main hub page, where you can navigate to everywhere else. This is Craig. He does nothing. Mouth also doesn't really do anything, and Thingamajig is just vibing over here. If we scroll all the way over to the right now, you will find Wib, who has something to say if we click and hold on him.
No, that's everybody.
I also like how you could just sort of click on it a little bit and he will do this.
No.
If we go back over to Reet over here, click holding on them will make them do this. I think that sound is from the Tasmania game on the Mega Drive. Oh yeah, there's also a little Easter egg over here, this little crack in the corner. Oh yeah, this was a teaser page before the website went live, with some actual tea and crumpets that I drunk and ate to Golden Axe music. So let's head on over to the intro and news area. You've got Flip and Rab Rab running around back here, but if we click on MTV's chest button, this is just a little intro to what the website's all about. And the news section is where I used to list any updates to the site before I open my blogger page. Rather tragically, the very top one is updates never happen here anymore. Bzz, bzz, feeling a bit rusty. I guess I'm heading for the scrap heap then. That's really sad. So the information page features me. I don't know why I have wings, but there we are. So this is just a bunch of info about myself, including where I was studying at the time and my now long gone websites. In this section you've got a bunch of stuff that I love, like cartoons and music and games, consoles, heroes, including Nick Park, Brad Bird and... yeah, no, I'm not going to count that one anymore. Weaknesses. Anything using 3D, programming, drawing anatomy, also need work experience. Well, some things don't change. Dream clients, BBC, Channel 4, Honda, Cartoon Network. 1 out of 4 ain't too bad. Personal goal, to become good enough at animation and or illustration so I can get paid to do it. Growing an afro would be cool too? What was it with me and afros back then? Right, so let's head on over to the animation section with this big fat fly who has some springy signs wedged in his brain. We can choose from feature and shorts. Shorts is where my little micro experimental films are, and feature is where my main high effort short films like Lucy Lolly, Rab Rab, Traffic and the Fugees are. Over time, most of these feature shorts received their own dedicated flash pages. These were all uniquely themed to the films, kind of like DVD menus. They mostly consist of a synopsis, making of info, a gallery featuring concept art, and streamable copies of the films themselves. Excluding the Lucy Lolly page, which only included a trailer. I really wanted people to buy the DVD, you see. Still have lots of those. In many cases, you could also watch the storyboard animatics and other making of bits and bobs here. Some of these films are actually flash files linked within the flash files. Flashception! This is the shorts section. If I was to click on any of these, they're just direct links to the SWFs. Which back in the day would have been fine, but now, nope. There's also the, what was that? Oh, it's disappeared now. I'm gonna have to wait for it to come back around again. Get out! There's also this junk section that has much older stuff, some of it linking to DeviantArt pages. This is the illustration section with the aforementioned GUAFs. Click on one of them and boff! Each one of these little buggers represents a different category. So you've got Photoshop, traditional, sketches, mixed media, and miscellaneous. There's a nice bit of ActionScript here, giving each link a little description. The MISC section has a collection of little animated GIFs that I mostly made for DeviantArt avatars, and a collection of art made on old car keyboards. Speaking of old parts of the internet that I dearly miss. The showreel section's pretty simple. You've got Mutt over here, who makes a cute little noise when you hover over him. And obviously if you click on him, runs off with his mummy. And it it's not playing here, but it plays the 2006 showreel. And it's also got the old one on here. One of the pages that's not listed on this main hub is the desktop page, as it got replaced with the blog. Man, this is a real time capsule. You've got my Nokia phone that I had at the time, and then there's a little MP3 USB stick I had in the bottom corner. This linked to a plugin called radio.blog that let me stream MP3s. Totally legitimate way of sharing music, of course it was. There's also a bunch of photos on here, mostly of the Tea N Crumpets display, as well as me at college and on holiday. I think the main section here, however, is the Daily Doodle, which was promised to be every day. Definitely didn't end up that way though. These daily doodles started as hand-drawn and scanned in, but soon became where I would practice doodling on my first ever graphics tablet. Some of these doodles would inspire short films I ended up making, such as the Fugees and Labox. There was also this set of doodles that crossed over Tea N Crumpets with Azumanga Daioh of all things. Sure, why not? When you were ready to leave, there was a page where you could browse other websites I liked at the time, like Homestar Runner and Weeble. A majority of these websites definitely don't exist anymore. I think this tree was a photo I took, and these little bug things are called guas. As the years went on, the website got small updates here and there, mainly those individual pages for short films, but by 2008 it was really starting to gather dust. It was around this time I decided to start working on Tea N Crumpets version 2.0, a complete redo of the entire website with even better Flash pages. I had some big plans for this update, including redesigning a majority of the characters and really expanding the scope of the site, with rabbit holes of experimental interactive pages that would have been fun to mess about with. Unfortunately, very little of version 2 got off the ground, with only one page publicly published, the About page. But here I am, sticking me tongue out in anticipation to munch on these snacks, a crumpet, a pancake and a muffin. I ended up having to add instructions to the top of the screen as it's not immediately obvious how to navigate this. But if you hover on any of these guys...
Who are you? Where can I find you? Show us your skills!
The idea is to click and hold on one of them. As you'll see, it's starting to cowl with fear. And then you plonk them onto me tongue. Blimey, I was 22 years old when I wrote this. With the years gone. Now let's eat the pancake to check out me socials. Oh wow, literally half of these are still going and half of them ain't. Finally, let's eat the muffin. Where you can check out a showreel. I believe it's the 2009 one. There's also a CV here, which is simply a Word document download. There's also a full portfolio in here you can peruse. I used to have a printed out physical version of all of this. The other page that was technically finished and ready to go was the front landing page that takes you everywhere else. But because none of the other pages were even started, this was never posted online. I can show it off here though, can't I? This page stars a redesigned Mr. Chap Bloke, who now has a tingle hiding in his hat and many arms to represent all the other pages. Clicking on these categories doesn't do anything, but if you carefully hover over these little worms sticking out of his fingers, whoop, they'll tell you more about each category. And then you can click on them again to return to the menu. Whoop. Let's have a look at a couple more of these. This is the land where anything goes. Picking the lucky dip will transport you to a random place in the world of Tea N Crumpets. So yeah, the lucky dip was going to be the most ambitious aspect of version 2. It would have required creating dozens of random experimental Flash pages that could be all randomly linked to each other, but alas, this barely got started. And finally, I quite like this one when you pick leave. It's just like, "You're leaving? Don't go! I love you!" Boo! So yeah, that's as far as this got. Oh, you can also click and drag his bow tie and spin it. Also, if you hover around his hat, welcome to Tea N Crumpets. This project really fell by the wayside for multiple reasons. This was around the time I was taking on my first freelance animation projects for clients, which was eating up a majority of my creative time. And it was also when Flash-based websites in general were on the decline for the reasons I mentioned earlier. I also think having a deadline at college for the first version of the website really helped out. It's a shame really, but oh well. So I hope you enjoyed that trapdoor down memory lane to the earlier days of the internet when Flash was king and this silly little website was my small contribution to that era of fun interactive online stuff. I have actually started planning a new personal website, but yeah, HTML5 is hard, man. Maybe I'll get back to it someday. Until next time, I'm off to catch some waves, cause I'll be surfing the web. I'm probably just gonna go watch some Homestar Runner. Bye! Emails! Mosh ban! Stop it.